Okay. I already hit the go live, so we should see it any second.
Go live, go live.
Yeah.
Does it show you it's going?
It says it's live.
We're live then.
Hey, everybody. Oh, yeah, we totally are. Happy Friday. I'm so happy to be back. I actually have not been on this live in a couple of weeks. It's been the boys. It's been just the boys. So I'm so happy to be back. Guys, you guys know that one of my favorite things to do is interview people, but today is super special. I have someone that not only puts God first, which is like, I mean, it's so admirable how you run your business, and we'll get to that in a minute. But he has been from unemployed to a 10 million? Am I getting that right?
$20 million is what we did, and 10 million this year. So we're on a runway 10 this year.
That's insane. I can't wait to hear his story. So here is the rocketpreneur, Casey Kelly. Hey,
I'm throwing stuff, man. This is exciting. It's good.
Thank you so much for being here. Oh, I gotta switch my view so people can see us at the same time. There we go. I think that's good.
Perfect.
So we, on this show, just so you know, we always give people tips about just how to grow and protect their money, right? We're trying to transform their relationship with money. We have a podcast, The Nova Wealth Show, that's on iTunes. We also post it to the Wooditch Network, and it's all about helping people grow and protect their money. Okay, Casey? So we constantly give as much information as possible, share as much stories as we can, experiences as we can, to give people this information, whether they're in a rut or whether they're on a roll to get to where they want to be.
I like the rut or the roll. Those are good.
I just came up with that like right
Boom.
I've had no caffeine today. So this is
good. Me neither. I'm sitting here going like coffee.
I know. So we're going to take your questions live on the air, but we'll also post this, like I said, to the podcast so you can re-listen to it, obviously, not only on Facebook, but on the podcast and online on our website, novawealthmanagement.com, and Casey's website, rocketpreneur.com as well. So let's get into it. I want to ask you my first question. You ready?
Oh, I'm waiting. Here we go.
What would you say right now is your biggest success that you have going right now? Let's right out of the gate. Let's talk about a success before you give us your whole story.
No, you're good. So my biggest win right now is that I'm 29 years old and by God's grace became a millionaire, right? That's a biggest success today. I'm enjoying that in a weird way, but also hungry for more because I'm a wild, crazy rocket. And so I'm like, I made money, let's go. And so, so I'm enjoying that. I'm really excited to be working with the Two Market Media team who introduced us because we've got some books. I have a book in the process. I've got a bunch of cool, I have a record I'm working on. I mean,
what?
I'm crazy. There's Lucy's guitar. It doesn't just sit there. I actually play it. Just kidding.
Oh my goodness. I would ask you to play if we had more time.
This is a finance podcast, not a.
Hey, I know, right?
Best music you ever heard podcast. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
So that's an awesome success. So I want to hear how you got there. So one of your biggest stories, and I know people can kind of read it a little bit on the website, but elaborate for us. How did you go from unemployed and take us on the journey a little bit, your faith journey and how you went, what you went through to get there, and just share whatever you want to share.
Yeah, no, this is good. So you can stop me at any time. So I give permission to every human that I'm on a podcast with to say, pause, hold on.
I do the same thing. And forgive me if I interrupt you because I'm just like, my mind goes 100 miles a minute and I have to ask you a question when it's on my mind. Okay.
And I want you to. So, and I'll backtrack. So we'll be good. But I try to tell linear stories with lots of details in short periods. Breathe deep. So I am a tattooed punk dude from the state of Utah. I grew up in a fairly broken home. Love my mom with all my heart. She's a warrior queen, but my dad was not so much. Unfortunately, my dad was a drug addict and he led my mom down some pretty dark paths in their marriage, right? And so the importance, as you know, being married, the relationship and the leadership and relationship.
The partnership.
Partnership, and they were together for 17 years despite a lot of chaos.
My parents were too. That's crazy.
Really? Yeah, they were together 17 years, and then they decided to split, and most of that happened because of money and some of these other reasons you'd cite for divorce, and drugs was one of them that my dad couldn't stop. And so I share that because I grew up in a home that didn't emulate money very well. Use of funds.
Perfect upbringing. You want people to know that you didn't have like the perfect life.
Yeah, well, they need to know that because they're like, because I got a tenacity and energy, and people often say like, Kate, I know what they're thinking. Like, you're probably always successful because you're so passionate. It's like, well,
Right.
I had a lot of bullshiz that I had to
Yeah.
overcome in
Yeah.
my life. And so I grew up in this broken home
Okay.
without a foundation, let's say, of faith, right, or belief, and not knowing what's real. And so by about 17 years old, I had decided I wanted to be a rock star, go on tour,
Yeah.
play them guitars and sing to them girls and be a dumb idiot on the road. And so
Them girls.
no dumb girls, that's the world. I didn't get drugs and alcohol. I got the dumb girls, and that was the world I lived in. And so that we all got our vices in life. And so for me, I had pursued that as my modus operandi, my identity. But in that world, I started to find that I was empty. So just as an interesting thought, because I think this happens when people make money too, right? They get the things.
For sure.
I had reached this point where I was pretty famous. I mean, you could go on iTunes back then. It was MySpace, those other things, right? And you would find, I know, right, of all places, and you'd find I'd have 1 million hits on my songs, right, or these different things. And so my band was growing at the time. I was singing in front of a couple thousand kids every night. I was living on the road. I'm about ready to just blow up, record deals and all that stuff.
But
and
I wake up, something was missing, like you just felt empty.
I call it the God-shaped hole, right? And so when we talk about the faith element, I have this big hole inside of me, and I'm filling it with like women and sex and money and this glory and trying to be famous. And by the time I'm 18, making $100,000 a year is nothing. It's like money, like it's too much to handle without good guidance or leadership.
Well, without the foundation or the knowledge, that doesn't even mean anything to you at 18.
It doesn't. You don't know. And you look to the world and you're like, well, whatever, everybody's out for themselves. I guess I'm out for me. Right. And so your worldview without a foundation of belief can become disaligned. Right. And so one of the things I try to teach people is how to make money, manage it, which is where I think you come in well, and then maintain it. Right. But if you do the first two
I always say is the hardest thing. Like once you build it, now how do you maintain it? Because it's super easy to just give it all away.
Or burn it to the ground or some guy take it from you. The Bible says that money grows wings and flies away, right? That's real. It just goodbye. And so here I am, this dude in a band trying to be famous. I'm doing everything I want, but I'm empty. There's 2,000 kids at the show singing my songs, and I'm like, yeah. And then I walk
was your mom or dad supportive at this time? Because we have a lot of parents with like children that were that age, watching right now. And so like, tell me for your parents.
Yeah. So you're punk millennial kid or whatever they are today. Cause I don't know, I'm a millennial, the new generation's coming. They're not hopeless. Okay. They can be okay. And they can get tattooed and still be okay, mom. So don't worry. The tattoos don't kill your life story. Okay. So I'm just kidding. But yes. So here's the thing. My mom was always very supportive. She told me since I was probably 5 years old, I can remember, you can do anything you believe you can. Casey. Every day she'd say that to me. So I'd be like, yeah. So if I have a bit of an ego at times, I'm like, my mom said I can do whatever I want. And so I do what I want.
I tell that to my kids too. I'm like, every day I'm like, don't say you can't.
That's a barrier or a barricade. You tear them down. My mom was a warrior, and so she still is. She's still living. And so my mom's this warrior. My dad, I see this dichotomy. There's this relationship. So he wasn't. Yeah. It was how high I'd be waving to people. I can't see him.
Well, there's a lot of people joining, so I'm gonna make you pause for just 1 second. I know you're right in the middle of your story, but we have a lot of people joining. Guys, this is Casey Kelly, the Rocketpreneur. Okay, so he's telling his story right now, how he went from unemployed to making a $10 million gross income year, $20 million in sales. So he's kind of telling his story right now about how he grew his business and how faith kind of led him on his journey. So ready, go.
Yes, boom, we're good. So we're to the point where you asked if my parents were supportive. Mom was very much. I made a joke this morning on a Facebook or an Instagram live. I have about a couple 100,000 followers, which is fun. That's cool. It's no big deal.
Follow him on Instagram.
Follow me on Instagram, right? Casey Kelly Rocket. And so people, it's funny because it's wild. I'm a rocket. And so people come and watch me, and I was like, when I used to play my shows and I talk between the set and I'd be like, oh yeah, this next song's about blah. My dad would say, let's talk more rock, shut up. And so when you talk about support, I'm like, I guess he was a good coach telling me to just play my music. And so long story short, I'm this dude in a band learning entrepreneurship. Because being a musician is entrepreneurship.
It's a business.
It's a business. You have to practice. You have to get the right teams on place. You have to have the product.
Money, there's expenses.
There's cost, there's
Right.
sweat equity, right? Everybody's like, what about me? And I'm the roadie and I'm the tour guy. And what about the managers? And so I was learning very early on at 17 what it looked like to be an entrepreneur and sell records. I used to put headphones on kids at the mall and say, buy my tickets and buy my records. And that's guerrilla warfare marketing, right? And so for me, I grew up in that world of music. It led to the point where I ended up becoming a Christian at 19. And so my story crests into the faith portion, that where I've got this God-shaped hole, as I like to call it. I'm trying to fill it with
God-shaped hole. I love that. That's hashtag. Lena's good at hashtag. God-shaped hole.
Hashtag God-shaped hole in my soul, right? and here's the musician.
I have a feeling there's going to be a song about this, huh?
Here we go. There's a record. It's coming. God-shaped hole.
Oh, okay.
Right? So I've got this hole, and I'm filling it with glory and money and fame, right? I'm filling it with all my stuff. And then I wake up one day and I meet a man, no different than maybe we do if we become a Christian, and how we have our stories of faith and these people that we look to as the examples, tells me, hey, everything you're living for is bullshit. I'll just punchline it. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I got the girls, I got the money, I got what I want. Like,
I got all these stuff.
And I got all this stuff. I have world stuff. I have the materialism. And he said, so did I. I was on tour with Sheryl Crow and Train and U2. And he's like, they used to open for me in the 90s. I'm like, yeah, right. I start Googling it, I'm like, come on. And I find that this man, Steel Crosswhite, really was that guy. And I'm like, wait a minute. You had the $1 million record contracts and you had all those things. So tell me. Yeah, I'm like, so tell me what happened. And he's a record producer now, and he was a pastor of a church. And so I'm like, so you're a pastor at a church, and I'm like, and you're a record producer, but you don't make millions of dollars anymore as a record guy, like on tour doing what I want to do. Why? And he said, well, I discovered that God wanted the best bands in the world coming out of the local church. I'm like, that's kind of profound. That's interesting. And he wanted me to be, God desired that my life would be lived out in faith here. And so he proceeds, and it's long, truncated story, is he shares the gospel with me and tells me my need for God. And in that moment, I'm rocked. I'm like, what? And my soul transformational. And if you're a person of faith, and if you're not, just bear with my chaos. But if you are a person of faith, you're like, I've been there. I know when I flipped for Jesus, or I know that moment when God showed up.
There's a lot of people in between, I feel like, at least what I see in business too. There's a lot of people that want to, but don't know how. That's another reason why I love this interview, is because there is a lot of people that wonder, like, maybe am I a person of faith? I mean, I believe in God, so does that make me a person of faith? Like they're that in between.
Yeah, and here's the hope that I have. I actually hope to help people build spiritual and financial wealth, which includes asking the question, what do you believe is really real? Because if you're just living, it boils down to this simply. I believe there's only two worldviews, and you can tell me I'm totally wrong. I'd love to tweet you or argue after.
I'll tell you if you're wrong.
Okay. The two worldviews I believe, there is a biblical worldview and there is an unbiblical worldview. And what I mean is we look through the lens of the Bible as a Christian, let's say, and it says there's a God, you should believe, there's eternity, there's heaven. Here's how you manage money. You make it, you save it, you spend it. Like, here's the rules of life. Because as a Christian, we believe the Bible is the word of God and it tells us what to do, right? And so people are like, well, how do I raise my kids? It's in the Bible. How do I have marriage? How do I have sex? Is it good or bad? Bible, go there, right? It's God's word is there. I mean that. So I'm like, it's there. And so the second part is, if you don't believe in the Bible, okay, then what is your worldview? Because that's the lens you're going to look through.
Right.
And so when people talk to me and they're like, well, how do I marry faith into my business? So I think I'm a person of faith. I'm like, cool. Do you view your business through the lens of what God says it should look like?
Well, and that's a lot of how you coach, right? Like that's kind of where you start with people, is how do you view it, are most of your clients that come to you a person of faith, or not really?
What's wild is they usually are, but they don't agree with what I believe, which is always fun. Okay. Which is cool. They're like, oh, I believe in a God, but I don't believe in your God. And I go, cool, then let's talk. And so we spend a lot of time actually going through the heart of the man before we ever start hitting the business principles, because once we get through their heart, and I'm like, cool, you don't have to agree with me. Like I fight to be valueless while maintaining my values. Like with people, I say, this is a hard dichotomy because I really don't agree with you in there. But look, if you choose to go there, I have to trust that God says he who seeks the truth will find it. So go seek it and it'll work out. I have to believe that in good faith as I give you the wisdom I can give. And so it's been interesting. A lot of my clients are in the retail sector, because that's a lot of what I've done, like in the retail world of coaching and scale. I do I've learned the secrets, I believe, to any business, truthfully. I've got a course we're launching. It's called the 7 Pillars of Financial Success.
I saw that. I saw that on your website, the 7 pillars to financial success.
Yeah, financial success. And we focus it on that. So it was originally the 7 pillars of business that you got to master, but we've made it more like we're relaunching all the course content to be focused on anybody who can learn about who wants to learn how to have financial success, not just entrepreneurs. Because an entrepreneur is a very specific demo you have to speak to.
For sure. But you're saying just anybody in life, you want to be able, not just business owners.
And here's why this is important to me is because the 2 pillars of my life are really faith and money. Faith and money are these 2 pieces.
Right.
Because if you have more money and you have more faithful people, you can do anything, right? And so because you could change the world. More men could build more, proverbial men and women, can build the world. But we also need the money, which is to build the bricks and buy the corn and buy everything we need to build. And so the concept is men and money are the 2 most important things in this world, right? Those are the objectives. And so there is a disconnect, and some may be thinking like, wait a minute, doesn't God say money's bad, the root of all evil? Well, unfortunately, that is what I'm here to tell you today, is that money is a tool for profitability. It in and of itself is not inherently evil, right? So if we're honest for a second, it's like money's not bad. It bought the stuff. It bought this house I'm sitting in. Praise God, I own it, right? It's a good thing, but it can also become a tool for bad, right? Financing war or death or.
Well, it depends on what your goal of it is, I think, ultimately, right? Depends on how you want to use it. And for those of you joining, we're here with Casey Kelly, the rocketpreneur. We're talking about his story. We're talking about his business. I'm going to get to some of his struggles, but what would you say was this turning point for you? Like, you went from this rock star kid and then you become a Christian and then you start building a business. But what was your turning point that you went from like, okay, I'm a business owner, but now I'm a successful business owner? What did you do to really turn the business fast?
Yeah. So I'm a rocket. So there's no issue with fast. Speed is not my issue. Accuracy can be a problem.
I think you were fast first and then you became the rocket, Like, I don't think it was rocket first.
When you say rocket, like successful rocket, I was a bunch of bottle rockets. So that's fair. So how did I grow into the big one? So here's the reality. I started my company with $5,000 in piss and vinegar, no business acumen. My wife was 5 months pregnant with our first kid.
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't get a job because I was tattooed on my neck and my hands at this point. And in Utah, they and it's changing, but for 7 years ago, they would not hire a guy with neck tattoos in the field I was in, sales and marketing and certain things. Because I'm going to go meet you in person the first time. You might be offended. Okay. That's that's how it works. And I respect it. I'm like, I'm not your demographic. I get it. That's not the target market. Music. Sure. That makes a lot of sense. Right. And so that's where
it's different.
It's different. So if I'm going to go into a board meeting with a CEO who's making $1 billion in revenue a year, he's got 8 minutes to talk to me. I like to tell stories and I'm loud. He can't get past the way I look, right? And he's like, let's go. That was the risk. I proved that all wrong. So that's part of it. But I'm saying that was the fear of these companies going, we don't know, you don't fit our culture. We don't know if we can assimilate to you. So I got told multiple times applying to jobs, you don't fit my culture. So I thought I'm going to make my own. So that's the basis of how I kind of start my company. I love technology. I'm really good with Apple and computers and hacking computers and stuff like that and software. And so I find myself launching this into this industry that I didn't even know was going to grow, right? Today, the phone repair industry is a $7.8 billion a year industry to fix phones and computers and tablets. And that doesn't even include the insurance side.
Do you consider that like IT or no?
Yeah.
That's more like repair.
Yeah, so it is IT for sure. It's a subset, right? So it's a subset ecosystem of technology. Because if you have new devices, you have used devices, but what about the ones that need to be rehabbed, right?
So you just got into that business because you kind of enjoyed it.
That was it. I found something I was passionate about, which I think is critical for any person who wants to
find something you're passionate about. That's a trend for sure that I hear all the time.
Well, and it's real, right? Because I'm passionate about lots of things, but if you don't maintain your passion and your fuel, you're going to find yourself lagging and getting discouraged at some point.
You'll have a God-shaped hole.
You have a freaking God-shaped hole, right? That's part of it. And so with that being said, what really formulated it was honestly just going to work every day and doing it. People say all the time, they're like, well, what's the magic silver bullet? There's none. Get up every dang day and go to work.
Well, you were completely motivated too. It was your passion. You have a wife that's 5 months pregnant. I mean, what choice do you have? You have to provide. So I think
get a job. Yeah.
Whether you get a job or whether you're a business owner, either way, you have to just get that motivation. And whether that's being forced into it or just, jazzing yourself up.
Yeah.
Either way, you have to get to that place where you have to do it.
Well, and it's an incentive alignment for your life. Like you said, like who else is going to do it for you, right?
Right.
And the Bible talks about that if we don't provide for our family, we're worse than unbelievers. So if that's true, I'm like, I can't not do that. Like I have to provide. I got this baby coming. I have a deadbeat dad. I'm not going to be a deadbeat dad, right? It's this dichotomy of identity where I'm like, I've got to overcome. I got a mom who told me I can do anything, so I'm going to do it, right? And so I will truncate my chaos of 7 years because it's too much for humans to take, right? It is. But I grew from 1 store to 7 in about 12 months. We grew very fast on cash and turning over cash flow. We then began bleeding.
Wait, 1 store to 7 in how long?
12 months. About 12 months.
Oh my gosh. 1 store to 7 stores in 12 months.
Yeah. So like I said, I don't struggle with growing or building and conquering.
You took all the money that you made and was just pumping it back into new stores.
Every single dime. I made literally $2,000 a month for 3 years. I poured every dime that came in to the growth because I saw a vision, because without vision, people perish is what Proverbs says. Right. And so I see no vision, I'm going to perish. So I see this vision. I'm like, I'm going to hundreds of stores. The biggest guy had 30 stores at the time. I'm like, I'm going to war. Like we're going to win. I can do this. And so I began doubling down. But the problem is along the way, I didn't have a lot of wisdom. The Bible says we need to count the cost before we build the house. Otherwise we'll get mocked when we run out of money. Right. That's Jesus said that. And so for me, I look at that and we grew too fast. And that's always the risk that people say, oh, you're going to grow too fast.
Well, was that a risk or was that a mistake? Do you think because you didn't have the foundation, that was a mistake that you made?
So I've been drinking the Kool-Aid recently that you're learning or you're not losing, right? I've been drinking that recently because
you're learning or you're not losing.
You're learning hashtag. You're learning not losing.
Another hashtag.
Right. And so I have been drinking that Kool-Aid recently, saying, look, I don't regret that. It wasn't a mistake because it forced me to. I stepped back and closed 4 stores in 30 days, and I had to right size my whole business. So
you went from 1 store to 7 stores and went down to 3 stores?
3 stores. I had to fire 20 of my friends. Half of them went to my church.
Oh, man.
It's crazy, right? Like,
wow.
Half went to my church. Things were hard. They kept asking me why I kept my Cadillac instead of firing them. I had to get rid of it all. Like, there were all these feelings where I'm like, I earned that. Like, I did that. I made a mistake. Back to your point. And then I went, you know what? No, it was a lesson for life to learn to count the cost. And I wasn't dead. I was 25 years old. I wasn't dead. I could still pull out, right? Like I could still turn this around. And so there was this kind of, it talks about in Good to Great, this idea, they have to have like crazy optimism as a leader. This level 5 leader believes at all costs it'll work out, right? And so here I'm thinking like, it's gotta work out. It's gotta work out, right? And so I go to 3 stores. We take our revenue from 30 grand a month per store to 100 per store in about 5 months, just focusing.
Just because you were focusing, fine-tuning on 3 stores. Okay, everybody watching is getting that. You went from 1 store to 7 stores to 3 stores, 30 grand a month to 100 grand a month in 3 stores.
So now we're doing 300,000 a month out of 3 stores, where I was limping along at like 150 across 7, right?
Did you expand to other types of businesses, or you focused purely on repairing repairing clothes?
You asked the right question. I began to diversify products within the family of folks, right? And so we're repairing, and I thought we should sell used devices, and we should sell accessories that protect it, and insurance. So, but it was all in the family because I needed to increase profitability. And the only way you do that is to introduce other products, as long as they don't distract you, right?
Right.
And so
as long as you know how to weigh out now the costs, right? As long as you know what you expect to produce from that new line.
Yes, correct. And so when you look at finance, it's like, okay, I've got these multiple lines. That's how we got to 100,000, because we increased the average ticket. We started selling more stuff, right? And making money. And so now we're making real cash. Like tomorrow I could go open 100 in my mind. Where I'm like, yeah, bro.
And this is within like 18 months, would you say, from the time you had 1 store to 7 to 3, and now you're making
18 to 20 months, I'd say. Yep. And I'm making every month about 100 grand in net cash, just money. Like I'm making $1.2 million in like free cash for me. And technically people are like, why aren't you content? well, I have a God-shaped hole, and sometimes I take him out of it and I fill it with,
Right.
I need more. Because just because God fills it doesn't mean he stays there. We can remove him and say, nah, I want more, right? I want stuff. And so I got this idea where I was like, we got to grow. And the good news is this. So I fly to China. I had a couple meetings there. I was working on some deals with Ashley Furniture and some other big companies.
Okay.
I fly there. No one speaks English in the country. I'm like, it's my 5th time in China. I'm alone this time. And I'm standing there at Alaskan Airlines about to board a plane. And I said, God, I'm making a lot of money now. This is crazy. I thought I was going to go bankrupt. Like I literally had like $500,000 of debt in my life and I was about to die. And you pulled me out of that. But I feel this deep need because of all the enemies coming, the opportunity of market, right? Just all the things you need to look at, right? That I need to grow. Like, and my vision was always to grow, and I'm a grower, God. So how can I do this? And I literally feel like I heard, because no one spoke English, a voice from God. I mean that in the best way, from God that said, get to 12 stores by the end of the year. And I was like, what? I started looking around, I'm like, who said that? I'm like,
and
12
what month was this? What month?
This was March of that year.
So get to 12 stores in 9 months.
9 months. So guess what I did?
You're excused, RT, for being late, by the way.
No, you're good.
I'm reading the comments. What did you do?
I grew 9 stores in 9 months. And
oh my God.
I came home and I went to war. So by the end of year 3 and a half.
You have 1 or 2 kids at this point?
We were on our 3rd kid by the 12th store open.
My God.
Yeah.
You don't do anything slow.
No, ma'am. I don't. This life lives fast. There's not enough time. Right? Seize the day. I got a carpe diem. So my wife is a trooper, and every year she's pregnant, and every year she loves me, and I keep growing. She's not unpregnant at any point, right? It just, we're moving forward, and we're going to war. I'm also playing music at church and serving as a small group leader and trying to balance the 5 F's of my life, right? My faith, my family, my fitness, my finance, my fellowship, right? And if you take anything away, just like pick little sections and then go like, I'm just gonna go think about that a little while. Like I'm a lot, but I'm trying to focus on these 5 F's, finding myself failing a lot of ways, just to be honest with you. So here's what happens. I'm in this business. We're like 3.5 years in. We keep truncating. We truck for a couple more years. I got 12. I'm holding firm. I'm trying to get all the stores up. And I start losing some money because people are stealing. It's just bad. Theft's happening. It's hard. I lose my best staff. Like it's just life. Business starts happening.
Growing pains. I mean, when you grow that fast, there's just no way you can't miss something almost. You know, you're hiring so many new people and you're trying to keep track of all the new numbers and the new product and the new inventory. It's like everything's new. Well,
while stabilizing the engine, right? Making sure they all do it like you do it. And there's all these issues. And layers. And I started building the company honestly around me. And this is important for somebody who is in a business, who has this type of leader, etc. I do play guitar, by the way, so I'm gonna ask that. Sorry. But this
you see the comments. He says I have 4.
I have 4. So there's this pillar. So I stand in this pillar and everything else starts to fall apart anytime I'm not focused or anytime I burn out. So I became literally the only thing holding this house of cards, as you could call it at times, together. And so my lovely wife comes to me and says, hey, look, I love you, but we're at a 4 out of 10. And you ask me often. And a 4 equals you're failing, which equals I'm not leaving you, but I'm sure as hell close. I'll just be
real. Very close. Yeah.
I love you with all my heart. You're my Elvis, baby. Like, I love that the world gets you and you're crazy. But unfortunately, like, I need some Casey. And if you don't come home, I'm going to pop because I literally have a 4th baby about to come out, like, to be real with you. So we're about to have a 4th kid.
Oh my gosh.
This is June last year, almost to, a couple weeks from now. And she says, you have 3 options. And I'm like, oh God, I hate when my wife gives me this.
I hate options.
I'm like, okay, what are the 3 options? She says, you can sell the company. You can walk away completely, like just bankrupt and peace out or whatever you got to do. I don't care. Or you can just pull back a little bit, stop working 70, 100 or 80 hours and work 40. And then be home for dinners and be home.
Well, and you knew you really couldn't do that.
I couldn't so I chose that as the option. So let's just punchline that.
Right.
I said,
I'll pull back. June of last year.
June of last year. So just give you a timeline. I said
1 year.
1 year. I'm like, I'll pull back. First month we do that, I lose $100,000 in top line sales. That's what you just said. Done. Next month, another $100,000's gone. Next month, I'm letting go 8 people. Next month, I'm saying, guys, I can't do this because if I don't, I'm going to lose what I care about over here. Like, guys, I have to start picking sides, and I'm sorry. And I started going, I got to fix this. How do I win this? I'm a conqueror. Like, I got to do this. And so that option wasn't working. Pullback wasn't quite working without systems. 2 became kill it. Can't do that. There's 100 lives depending on me, and that just can't happen.
Right.
And so my only option I felt was fair was to still be able to pull back and still sell, meaning still be involved to be able to guide the ship and grow it while adding.
So that it's a different team taking over the whole idea, right?
Correct. And then as long as I could pitch them a vision to stay on and help continue to propagate what I hope to start, right?
Then how did you sell? Because you're a huge part of the business, right? And a lot of people watching, I know a lot of people that have had a business, right? They go to sell their company, but unfortunately they're their company's biggest asset. You can't sell a company if you're the biggest asset. So how did you get around that?
So incentive alignment in your deal is critical, right? How you work the deal, depending on where you're at. And so here's the thing. I went into the deal knowing what you just said. They're not going to let me leave. So my wife and I knew that, but I can set boundaries as long as I have performance metrics that are aligned with what I'm asking.
Okay.
So I went to my wife, or I went to my wife. I said that. She says, okay, go ahead. It took me about 7 months to find the buyer. And so taking some time getting through that. I get to the buyer and he says to me, what's your vision? I say, I can't work more than 50 hours a week. I can't travel more than 2 days a week.
You've got parameters.
I'm like, you need to give me a 6-figure salary plus incentive, and I'd like equity, and you need to buy my whole company for this amount. That's what I need. And so I knew what I needed, right? So that's one of the critical things is you have to write the deal.
You got to know what you need. Yeah.
You know what you need and you write the deal. Now they may redline negotiate and say no freaking way, but you have to show up with what you want and within reason know you have a few compromising points, but you've got to set the table. That's been my best advantage. So I go to this guy, I pitch him. I know this is so long. My life is always long. Okay.
Hey, it's all right. We're getting through it.
Hey man, just trucking through it. So I go to this guy. There's a company. They're an 800 store Verizon operation. They come to me and they say, "What do you want to do?" I explain all the things I told you, and they accept every one of my terms. And they said, "Okay." And so within about 30 days, we closed. I sold the company. I became a millionaire, paid all my debts. God bless me. I paid everybody I ever owed. I took care of my partnerships. I sealed everything up over the last month or so. Bought my Maserati. No one can judge me. Bought my house. Like I did what I wanted to do. Bought the guitar for $3,000. That's what I did. Okay. So I went and bought what I wanted. I set aside, so back to the management. So don't just think I'm alive.
Yes.
I invested. I took a big percentage of that money for taxes.
Put it away. Yes.
Yes. I have 2 years worth of savings in case all this burns to the ground so I can survive. Right? And so I did all the right things I know you would say, Amy, to do.
Yes, good.
Y'all defer to Amy on what to do. I'm not going to be your person. But I did what was right. And then I woke up and I went, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is March 11th. So this is just recent, a couple months ago. Right.
Wow.
So I wake up, I get out of bed and I go, whew. And so then I start to work on those 5 F's I told you about. Okay. How do I love my wife more? How do I go back to church more and focus on that? How do I start building stuff like this? Because now that I'm on the other side of some of this chaos, I want to be able to help people build spiritual and financial wealth and say, look, I trusted God when he told me to go to 12. I did what he said. I almost died many, many, many times. But in faith, I stood there. And in the end, it yielded fruit because I acted in faith and I took action. Right. And
so we got a question. So you took action, but now what's next?
That's what everybody keeps asking me. Like, Casey, what are we going to do next? I'm going to die now. We're good. Right. We're done. Right. I'm just kidding. So I'm just kidding. What's next for me is this. So look, I founded the Rocketpreneur. Right. That's it. Rocketpreneur. Entrepreneur. With the objective to help radically paradigm shift whoever's watching's lives to become better and believe you can do anything. And if you don't have enough energy, I will give you enough of my crazy fuel until you learn how to believe in yourself enough to pick that up through methodologies and trainings that I've been building behind the scenes. And so because now I'm not working 100-hour week over there, and my wife, I've been home way more, and I put the kids to bed and they eat food. And I'm praying. We're doing what I can do. Yes. I stay up for those 3 hours at night where I don't sleep. And then what I start to do is work on the record, work on the book, work on the courses, work on the things that I want to be able to provide back to you. And
so are you going to be doing consulting? Or are you focusing more on building these courses and building both? Okay.
Yeah, it's going to start with the digital and the training. So for lightweight, call it lightweight. They're like, I'll read the book. I'll see the course. And then they're like, wait, I need your help. Cool. Let me
because that's the thing is that your energy is contagious. So I mean, you can see that you have the right energy. You can see you have the confidence in your faith, and you can spread that when people talk to you. I don't know that it would through a course, like that's awesome. People are going to get the tips and the content and the value, but you it's still you. It's still
it will always be.
Entrepreneur.
It's out. See, and that's part of this work, because the balance against this is this. I had reached a point now, and I'm blessed by this, that I started being able to charge $200 to $300 an hour when I was coaching people. And I do that. And that's a blessing, but not everybody can afford that. And it's not that I don't want to give to other people. It's to your point. There is actually only so much rocket fuel in this tank. Even when I'm Superman in my own mind, but then I wake up and I'm like, I'm a human and I don't have
Superman to your kids.
So that point is like, there's only so much back to pour out. And so when people are like, hey, can I just get some advice? I'm like, yeah, here's a course. And they're like, wait, that's impersonal. I'm like, your answer's there. If you go watch, I put the time in. If you pay attention, you'll learn what you
still want to help people. You still want to have that content. Like we talked about that too, because I'm trying to do courses too, because it's like, I can't get to everybody, but I want to be able to, I don't want people to keep getting taken advantage of. You want to get the information out there. And by the way, just quick side story. My daughter this morning, she's 3. She says, Mom, because I always tell her to be the superhero of her school, right? Yeah. And she says, so today I'm Superwoman. Who are you? And I says, Wonder Woman? She's like, yes, good, yes. Okay, so I'm Wonder Woman today. Amen. So you are the superhero in your kids' lives. You are the superhero to your clients.
Well, I love that you said that, because I literally I said yesterday to somebody, I said, you're the superhero in your own movie. It's your story. And I said, you're riding the tail day over day. And at the end of the day, it's up to you to determine how this day is going to go. And that's hard to believe. I'm telling you, the only way I get that in my mind every day is routine. I get up every day.
That was going to be my next question was, what's the one tip? Like, what's a good general tip that you can give? I always ask this especially for our viewers, just something that they can walk away with right now and say they got value out of this conversation. It's of course entertaining and they're learning a lot, but I think there's a specific tip that they need, that you can give them value. And you just said something that's huge. You do a routine. So describe your routine for us.
Okay. Routine would be the overarching word. Create a routine is like, hey, this is what you should do. I get up every morning to the best of my ability at 6 a.m. I get my stupid shoes on that are already preset out. The clothes is already preset, right? Every night. I put on those shoes and the hoodie and the jacket, right? And I look like a homeless man.
That way, if you're not motivated, they're like sitting there saying like, okay.
Oh, dude. Well, and when I wake up, because I'm a person of faith, I hear a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of your hands to rest, and you're going to be broke. That's what I hear every morning when I wake up and I'm like, a little sleep and slumber. I'm like, you'll be broke. That's what I hear because that's what my Bible says, right? And so I sit up and I go, you're going to be broke if you don't get up. Not just financially broke, spiritually broke. And so I'm like, I'm like, okay, I got to go. So I put those clothes on and it takes me about 12 minutes on average now to get the heck out of the house. And I will walk so you're going to call me crazy. I started at a mile and that was my goal. I do 5 miles in the morning. And now I average 10 a day, is about 10 to 12 is what I walk every single day in my day. If you count.
How long does it take you to walk 10 miles?
Well, okay. 10 is all throughout the whole day, but to get that first 5 in, it's about hour and 30, right? So I just go and I walk as fast as I can walk. And I push, but during that time, I like to call it redeeming the commute, right? I redeem the commute. I pray. I listen to my audio Bible. I listen to a sermon. I'll listen to a podcast to renew my mind. And then I might take a phone call and call a friend. See, this is the point where
you're multitasking.
Yes. So it's not like I'm just like walking. It's like, no.
Walking, yeah.
I'm walking. Okay. And how do I get the other 5 miles in? Stuff like, well, if I were on a phone right now, I'd be walking, talking to you, getting 2 miles in. Right. And so I redeem the time because
I've done that. That would have been fine.
Yeah, it would have been good. The internet would have been spotty, but I make it my mission to incorporate my routine to my objectives. Right. And so this morning I didn't feel it. Guess what? Who cares what your heart says? Put your brain there and your heart will follow. Yeah. Right. So it's like, I don't feel it. You never will. Your brain says you got to do it because that's how you win. And then your rocket fuel is your heart though. So once your brain convinces your heart, it becomes the thing that goes, time to go. And so anyways, that's another Casey crazyism.
That's insane. That's good. No, that's good. I like it. That's good. Everybody watching, this is Casey Kelly, the Rocketpreneur. His website's rocketpreneur.com. He's got coming out the 7 pillars of financial success, 7 pillars of financial success. We're going to be looking out for that for sure. Yes. But one of the big value takeaways that he just gave us is that he does a routine.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Routine has become, honestly, people are like, what makes you so successful? I'm like, I just do the same thing. This jacket, I probably wore like every other day. I just wear the same stuff. I just do the same thing. Like, but I had to determine what the right routine is. So that's critical. Don't just do stuff. You got to determine what
what
you're
the
like,
right routine is for you.
exactly. Towards your goals, determine your objective and then work towards them. Like
You
that's
have
the
to
goal.
find the end game and then what's going to get you there.
And that will change. So that's the punchline too. Is like your end game becomes multi games because you're like, oh, I beat that game.
Sure. That's an awesome point too. Well, any last thoughts that you want to leave people with?
I was reading the comments. It's funny. Your hero, super consulting. Look at all these people. It's amazing. So last comments. Listen, you, like my mother had said, can do any freaking thing you want to do if you simply believe it. And how do you do that? You get up and you put those shoes on and you go outside and you keep a routine and you do the next right thing. That's it. Right. People make it so complicated. And I know this is a show about finances. It's actually quite simple. You have income, you have expenses, you should have money left over. That's the goal. And when it's left over, you should invest appropriately to where you want it to go, and you'll have more of it. Money's not hard. Right. If you waste the money or don't have a plan or don't work towards it, you will, like 90-ish%, I don't know what the statistic is now, of Americans live paycheck to paycheck.
For sure.
But if you can increase your income or decrease expenses and have more at the end, you will have joy financially, which will lead to spiritual happiness, because when you're broke financially, it crushes your spirit.
It's hard to get your mind straight.
It's hard. It's hard to believe what's best if you have nothing to give. It's hard.
For sure. That's awesome. Thank you so much for this. This is great. We're going to have to do this again, like round 2, because it's like, what's next for Casey?
What's next? Where's he going? I don't know.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being here. Like this video, share this video out for anyone that you know that might need a little inspiration or might need some good business tips. Share this out and spread the word. Casey, thank you so much for being here. Have an awesome weekend.
You have blessed the crap out of me. Thank you for whoever's watching. God bless you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.